With trucker strikes and rising inflation, food shortages are becoming a big problem. Don't let yourself get caught unprepared. Buy a food survival kit today from My Patriot Supply and save. Over 2,000 calories a day to keep you healthy and strong, with a 25-year shelf life to ensure it's ready for you when the shit hits the fan. Go to www.bit.ly/CMSPNfood, order your supplies today, and invest in yourself and your family now before it's too late. www.bit.ly/CMSPNfood, My Patriot Supply. It is CHRIS AKIN Presents, and I am Chris Akin, and today I am presenting a great band I thought was a new band, and then I realized was not because I'm clueless, but I love this band. They have a brand new record called Paid in Full. It is out on April the 22nd, and I'm happy to talk to one of the guys from the band Skull Fist, the main guy, I'm going to say. It is Mr. Zach Slaughter. Zach, how are you, man?
Good, buddy. Just hanging out in my basement, freezing my ass off here.
I hear you, dude. Well, dude, I got to tell you a real quick story, man. It's about a mutual friend that I feel like I'm a clueless ass by not knowing your band, because I heard your stuff and I was like, you know, guys are always looking to try and help other bands, you know, help other bands, you know, with bands that make sense. So I throw a text over to my friend Jarvis over at Night Demon, and I said, "Hey, you got to check out this band, man. This guys would be awesome playing with you guys." And he's like, "Oh, dude, we've already done a European or a U.S. tour and a Mexican shows and blah 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 with these guys." Like, I'm well aware of Skull Fist. I was like, "Oh, all right, well, I'm an ass," you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, Night Demon's a good band, you know, and Jarvis is a nice guy, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and we talk every now and then. He's cool. Actually, though, he introduced me to Radiohead. Actually, it was him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he suggested Radiohead to me once in Mexico, and then when I got home, I went and checked out all their discography, and I was like, "Oh shit, these guys are wild."
Very good, man. Well, dude, it's just cool that you guys are making the right kind of music, man. I think that's the moral to the story here. Is, you know, the first thing I thought of when I heard Paid in Full was this would work great with Night Demon, who I love. So, you know, that might be a good place to start since I'm clueless. Maybe everybody else is as well. Why don't you give people a little history of Skull Fist and exactly what you guys do?
Well, we started in 1976 there. We started under the name Uriah Heep. I wanted to call the album The Magician's Bar Mitzvah, but they wouldn't let me. No, yeah, we've been playing for forever. I mean, that's since 2006 is when I started it.
Okay.
And then just, you know, we were all pretty nuts in our 20s, you know, so I think drinking was a higher priority at the time, you know, and so we kept releasing records very sparsely apart as well. And in 2010, we did an EP, which kind of they're called Heavier Than Metal. And that was kind of what started things going. And then I think after every record, full album we released, something would always happen. You know what I mean? Like there would always be something that would prevent the next album from coming out in a timely manner. So basically we went on this streak record of releasing an album every 4 years.
Right.
Which had never been my intention, but something has always happened. After this record comes out, man, I'm going to hide in the bush for the next year because I got this whole stigma thing thinking that, you know, so now something's going to happen again. Okay, new album, new problem. What's the problem now?
Right on, man. Well, dude, after 15 years of trying, and it sounds like from what you're saying, you've just gotten more serious lately. But what do you think it has been? Because I went back and listened to some of the older stuff too, and I mean, musically, you guys are like in the pocket. I'm surprised that you guys are not further along. Is it just been that you just weren't serious enough, or do you think people just didn't run into you, or what?
We were up until now up until like a year ago, we had been on a pretty rough record label deal. Actually, a very rough record label deal.
Okay.
And then we finally bought out the contract last year. And but I think during the like I said, in my 20s, in all of our 20s, we were all pretty nuts. You know, like we never prioritized getting popular or anything like that. You know what I mean? We were just fucking around most of the time. And I think even now, I'm not, you know, like, I don't want to go tour for 6-7 months out of the year. Like, I live in the bush. I just hide out here and make tunes, you know?
Right. Sure. Yeah. You know, you say that, but at the same time, you guys are now finding a lot more success. You know, I'm looking through it. I'm, you know, you got the new label now, and they're not going to want you to be being like, yeah, dude, we're going to do whatever we want. You know, they're going to be like, bro, get out there, tour.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Right? That's kind of the catch, right? The catch is like, hey, you know, these guys are going to release your record, but now you got to get out. You got to take off the jogging pants every now and then, and you know, go play gigs. Yeah, exactly. But it's cool though. I mean, it's all right. You know, ultimately, it's like you just make records, and whatever happens, you know.
Sure. Well, man, let's talk about Paid in Full a little bit, man. What a great record, man. You know, cool. I think people are going to falsely classify it as something old. You know, and everything I read too was like, well, it has a little bit of Scorpions, a little bit of Iron Maiden, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Lord knows I love those bands as much as you do, obviously, and everybody else, but I don't think that's fair to you guys because it just makes it sound tributey where it's not. It sounds very fresh and very, very good. You know, which is that? Do you think that that's fair that bands today are getting compared to old bands, or do you think it holds you back?
I think it depends on who you are. Like, there's a lot of bands that I think maybe want to be that. You know,
sure.
And there's a lot of bands that want to be, you know, the next Iron Maiden or something, or the next Judas Priest or whatever. But I think it depends on how much of an influence you take from those. You know, like I like, my way of saying it was that, like, I don't mind dipping my feet in the pool, but I don't want to dive right in there.
Right.
You know, and at the same, it's like, I think it's a lot more fun to figure your shit out on your own, you know what I mean? And do your own thing and learn about, you know, adapt your own creativity on its own instead of, you know, so, I mean, if someone says, hey, you sound like Iron Maiden or Scorpions, I mean, it's a lot better than getting compared to sounding like Vince Neil when I was younger. So that was always the people would come up, man. They'd be like, oh, man, you know, you guys are great, man. You sound like Vince Neil. And in my head, I'm like, that's not a compliment. Although I do like Vince Neil as a guy. Sure. I think he's a cool dude. I think from what I've seen, the guy seems like a pretty actually decent guy. But yeah, so, I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't care what people compare it to. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
So, but for me, I would never want to just copy something.
Sure, absolutely. Well, dude, first single that you've put out there, first video, is for Long Live the Fist, which is just a fast, in-your-face metal song, man. So go ahead, talk about that one, man.
It's called Long Live the Fist, you know. I just thought it was funny. I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to make something that's, you know, we had an old song called Get Fisted that I thought it was hilarious. I was just like, you know, I'm going to do this because it's just, there's something about it that I think is slightly serious, but also unserious. And it was kind of a fun thing to do. So Long Live the Fist was just an easy song to pick off the record. That would have been an obvious, like, you know, because like you release any song from a new album, man, like, you know, depending on what song you release, it's like people assume that's exactly what the record's going to be, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like you could have one wicked fast song on there and then have a whole bunch of ballads, you know, Still Loving You over and over. And so that one just seemed like a simple, easy, you know, fuck, let's just do this one there.
Right on. And the other tune that I really like is the Madman Song. That was
the one. That's my riff, man. I love that riff, man. I play that shit and I feel like I'm a fucking mountain or something. But musically, that's my favorite riff on the record. But I didn't want to do the video firstly for that one, because there's nothing going on writing wise. It's pretty caveman, It's a full on caveman track. So I thought if that was the first video that I released, people would be like, "Oh, now they're slow and heavy," and
right.
But I'm glad you like that song though, because that's one that sticks out for me.
Sure. Now, dude, with an album, and I'm curious about this now because the world is changing so much and the business is so different. I mean, it's hard to get people to shell out their money, let alone to buy either downloads or, unless they're at a show, it's hard to get them to buy a physical product, really, So what is it for you that makes you keep making albums? Is it just that's the way you've always done it, or you just don't want to do a single at a time, or what keeps you doing albums?
So, I mean, I think about that sometimes. I think about just how things are changing. Is albums the way to go? And I think that there's negatives to it, but I think there's positives as well, right? It's like if you went, the negatives to doing an album is that it's hard to get people's attention. It's hard to get anyone to listen to over 4 seconds of music at this point. Sure. If it's not a fucking TikTok dress up video there, right? No one's watching it. So, but at the same time, there's still guys that love it. You know what I mean? So, but the other thing is that you kind of garner some attention. You get a bunch of attention for 2 months, and then you disappear for 2 years. Right. And generally, you know what I mean? In a sense, like that's kind of a way. And if you had done things like you released say you released 8-song album, but you released a new song every month, and then at the end of the 8 months, now the album's done and out. I don't know. I don't know what format to do. I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with Skull Fist. I'm okay with doing it like this. Maybe it would change. I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I think it would be incredibly scary for a lot of guys too, to try and transition into that weird new pop music thing where guys don't even release albums. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably fucking with a lot of people's heads, I imagine.
Yeah, well, the weird thing is us old heads, we all say the same thing. When a band's on tour, when we see that a band's coming to town, the first thing is, oh, what are they touring on? What are they promoting? And it's like, well, they have a single. It's like, a single? What is that? I mean,
it's fucking 4 minutes.
I mean, it doesn't. I think we are at a transition point because, like, I'm 53 years old. I'm an old guy. And for me, it doesn't make sense. One song that just does not translate in my head. But I don't. But the opposite of that is, I have kids that are in their 20s, and an album, they don't know what that is. They've never had one.
What is this, a fucking dinner plate? No, it's a record, bro.
Exactly. They don't understand an album, and I hate that it's this way because it does make it a lot more disposable. There's. And you probably see this. There's not as much passion from fans toward a band anymore.
I agree. Yeah.
And that's, it's the double-edged negative. I think metalheads are probably more likely to buy albums than
for sure
pop heads. But
oh yeah, totally. It just
sucks. I don't know how we got here.
I find it's bizarre. It is bizarre, man. The whole thing is awkward, man. I could never see like I said. If you released a new song each month, to me, it still has to lead up to an album release.
Right, exactly.
There would just be a different way of promoting a record over a longer span of time versus 2 singles, whatever.
Right.
But then again, you got to make sure that every song on that record's kicking ass too, though, because if you got 2 duds, then you're fucking stuck with 2 months of shitty responses, Right.
And if either one of those is the one that somebody hears, then you're really screwed because then you're out.
Then they're not into it. Yeah, like you hear lots of guys hear one song from a record, and if they don't like it, they say fuck it.
Yeah, no, you're
First time I heard Judas Priest, man, it was fucking that. I was a little kid, and it was Ripper Owens and Judas Priest, man. Okay. It was the Jugulator record.
Sure.
And first time I heard it, man, I thought it was crap.
Right.
And then, later on, people would ask me, you like heavy metal? I said, yeah, you like Judas Priest? I said, no, they fucking suck. I don't like that band at all. I never heard of it. And then I heard fucking the Rob Halford old stuff. I didn't know any. I was a little kid, no internet, no nothing, you know. And then I heard the other, the Judas Priest stuff, and then I was like, oh wait, oh, that's why people were talking about this band. I get it now.
Nice.
So you can definitely. I mean, but that's just how it is. You know, you can't. There's no point in worrying about it. I mean, some guys come, some guys go, whatever. You know?
Right. Exactly, man. Well, dude, what are the tour plans for Skull Fist, man? Do you have actual plans yet, or can you not make them because of COVID and you're just waiting it out, or where you at?
When are you going to post this?
Next week.
I mean, we're supposed to do a tour in May in Europe right now, but I don't think it's going down.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly the whole problem is like, I guess like Omicron doesn't seem to be as bad as it is, you know, it's not killing the shit out of everybody there.
Right.
But at the same time, I catch that shit. I'm supposed to quarantine for 7 days, and I have to, you know, I don't want to be giving that shit to people in the front row or something like that. So it's like way too much of a risk, man. It's like you blow all this money trying to go on a tour, and then all of a sudden you got to cancel 8-9 gigs. You're screwed.
Right.
So I'm just gonna keep waiting. I'm in no rush, you know. Like I just chill out. I like my jogging pants; they're comfortable.
I hear you, and dude, you are so right too. Unless you've got Metallica money,
exactly,
it ain't. You can't afford 8-9 gigs that you've booked in Belgium and Sweden and Switzerland or somewhere.
Oh man, it's like the expenses on that tour. Fuck, that shit was like almost $30,000 in expenses, you know. So the second I start losing gigs, it's gonna be $1,500 a gig. All of a sudden, I'm coming home and I'm selling all my shit again, you know.
Right. Right. No, dude. It's a tough time, man. There's no doubt, man.
Yeah.
But
as I said, I'm not in a rush.
Right. Well, and that gives people more time to live with this great new release. It is called Paid in Full. It is out April the 22nd. It's Skull Fist. And Zach, where should we tell people to go to check out Skull Fist and find out tour dates and all that stuff?
Well, you can check out our merch online at ironmaiden.com. That's you'll find it in there, last page.
Right.
No, yeah, I mean, Skull. It's anywhere. Google is so good at everything now that you can Google it from a fucking one of those old iPods there, and it'll probably show up.
Nice. Very good, man. Well, one more time, the album is called Paid in Full. It is Skull Fist and Zach. Thanks so much for jumping on with CHRIS AKIN Presents.
Absolutely, man. Good time.